Good evening. The Prime Minister and the First Minister have held talks about Scotland's future. After the meeting in Glasgow, Nicola Sturgeon said she remained frustrated at the lack of any progress towards a distinctive Brexit deal for Scotland. But Theresa May insisted her aim was a good deal for the whole UK, including Scotland. The move to trigger Britain's departure from the EU will come on Wednesday. This from our political editor, Brian Taylor.
A meeting of ministers.
What will you be saying at the meeting, Prime Minister? Good afternoon. Hi there.
But not necessarily of minds. The talks followed a day devoted to Scotland's future. Securing the state.
Obviously, Scotland is the second biggest force in the UK.
The Prime Minister announced plans for a counter-terrorism training exercise in Scotland, but she's also anxious to secure the Union. As Brexit moves closer, she won't countenance talk of an independence referendum.
Now is the point when we're triggering Article 50, we're starting the formal negotiations for leaving the European Union. Now is the time when we should be pulling together, not hanging apart, pulling together to ensure we get the best possible deal for the whole of the UK, including the people of Scotland. And also I think it would be unfair on the people of Scotland to ask them to make a significant decision until all the facts were known.
You envisage a referendum happening at some point in the not too distant future?
My position isn't going to change, which is that now is not the time to be talking about a second independence referendum.
More symbolism. The Department for International Development in East Kilbride. Theresa May argues their efforts to tackle global poverty prove Britain's strength and continuing determination to look outwards post-Brexit.
So as Britain leaves the European Union and we forge a new role for ourselves in the world, the strength and stability of our union will become even more important.
Nicola Sturgeon characterised the talks as cordial, but without any concessions on offer.
I continue to be frustrated by a process that appears not to be listening, not just to Scotland, but to any of the devolved administrations. And I made that point to her. I reminded her again that we had UK membership of the single market ruled out with no discussion, and that has been the experience of these negotiations. I had hoped we were going to hear a different approach today in terms of powers. Because of reports in the media at the weekend, that turned out not to be the case. But I'm determined that, well, firstly, I want the UK to get a good deal, but when that deal emerges, I think people in Scotland should have an informed choice about whether that's the path they want to take or whether they want to take the path of becoming an independent country.
Tomorrow the scene shifts back to Holyrood, where MSPs will decide whether to back an independence referendum.
Well, in a moment we'll hear from our correspondent at Westminster, but first to Brian Taylor. Brian, did anything else of significance emerge from the meeting?
There are competing interpretations tonight, Jackie, of one element that emerged from the meeting. Nicola Sturgeon says the Prime Minister assured her that it was her intention, it was her determination, indeed, to complete the Brexit talks, not just about exit, but also about the future trade deal between Britain and the other 27 members of the European Union within 18 months to 2 years, the timetable set out, of course, in the Article 50 talks. Nicola Sturgeon says that means there is no actual concrete obstacle to allowing a referendum on Scotland around about that time to give the people of Scotland a choice.
And any response from the Conservatives to that?
A very vigorous response from the Conservatives. They say that is misinterpreting what the First Minister intended. Yes, they say it is absolutely the intention, has always been the intention of the UK government to complete the Brexit process within the 18 months to 2 years timetable, but they say it would require Brexit to settle down, to use the phrase deployed by the Secretary of State David Mundell. It would require the people of Britain, the people of Scotland, to see how it was working, how it was shaping down before it could be compared and contrasted, if that's warranted, with the offer of an independence referendum.
Brian, thank you. Well, let's go now to our correspondent in Westminster, David Porter. And David, a hugely important week ahead.
Jackie, a resounding yes to that proposition, a week in which the arguments over Scottish independence and Brexit are likely to become even more intertwined. Tomorrow things will start at Holyrood with a vote by the Scottish Parliament for a second independence referendum. On Wednesday here at Westminster, a very important milestone on the road to Brexit, when Theresa May will officially inform the European Union that she wants the UK to leave the European Union. She will trigger Article 50. On Thursday, here at Westminster as well, something called the Great Repeal Bill. That is a piece of legislation which will bring EU law back into British law. And on Friday we will get the first response from the European Union to Theresa May triggering Brexit on Wednesday.
Well, David, that's the next few days. There could be uncertainty for years.
Yes, there could. You'd be forgiven for thinking that everything had been about Brexit for the last few months, which of course it has been, and it's been a lengthy process so far. We've had arguments in the House of Commons here and the House of Lords. We've had Supreme Court rulings. But really from Wednesday we get down to the nitty-gritty, when the formal negotiations of Brexit are going to begin. Everyone, I think, thinks that those are going to be protracted negotiations. They will be long, they will be very difficult. Not even the most ardent optimist or Brexiteer thinks this is going to be an easy process.
Thank you very much. Thanks to David Porter at Westminster and to Brian Taylor in Glasgow.